Jason, if you're talking, you're on mute.
I was not talking. I was just saying if you were paying attention. And thanks for someone noticing that. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jason Meggs. I'll be leading this meeting. Can everyone see the presentation? All right, so the tyranny of PowerPoint is in full effect. Welcome everyone to the 21st meeting of School Parking Zones Working Group. Some of the key staff involved and on this call are myself, Jason Meggs, I'm the program manager. Joseph Kerwin is the overall curbside programs manager, and David Lipscomb manages the curb as the curbside manager. Also from Planning and Sustainability Division, we have Katie Lang in the house. Anna Laughlin manages that group. Katie is the GoDC Go program coordinator, and GoDC Go is key to this program. Also, newly arrived, we will get to introductions. And from Transit Delivery Division, we have the new school transit coordinator, Andrew Grinberg, here to help answer any questions you may have about transit and give us the key essential transit perspective. And of course, the school outreach coordinator from GoDC Go, Priscilla Ranjikar, who will have some great words to say later about various new opportunities and existing opportunities. So today's agenda, introductions, give a little background and overview of the program that's typically given, a quick update on program participation, GoDC Go updates, including the school pool, application process for next year, and outreach for the coming school year. And of course, the much anticipated end of year school transportation coordinator survey. We'll go over some of the highlights of that survey, which is so wonderful that we have a good response from the STCs. Will really give us some insights into how to improve the program and what's working, what isn't. And we'll try to touch on, if we have time, the school reserve curbside policy development. You're welcome. There's an open call for ideas and insights and questions, if you have them, about how to better program the curbside at schools. Finally, if we have any more time, we'll talk about general discussion and past topics and next steps in closing. Currently, these meetings are happening on the third Tuesday of the month from 4 to 5 p.m. That time was chosen because we had a group of school staff, teachers say that they could not make the earlier time. I am now hearing that there are some folks who can't come to that time because of dismissal. And one of the suggestions we got in the survey was to sort of switch between morning and afternoon. It remains an open question how we can have the best time for all the tens of thousands of folks who might want to join this meeting. But we're not going to decide that at this meeting. I'm just flagging it that watch your inbox. There might be some kind of Drupal or mini survey about when to best post this meeting for maximum inclusion, accessibility, and participation. Okay, so during the meeting, please use the raise your hand option. Hopefully we'll see, but don't be shy if it seems like it's been up too long. Use the chat. Be sure to write to everyone if you do. And if you would like follow-up, please put that in the chat as well. I will also paste at this time into the chat some key contact information and links to how to submit an application, to the Sustainable Transportation Plan template, and the final rule if you'd like to refer to it. So moving right along. Welcome and introductions. I'll try to call you all in alphabetical order. Please share your name, title or role, and organization, and optionally what inspired you to join this session. So we have, I'll call sort of three at a time. Amber Gove is first, Johannes Benhoff, and then Andrew Gerst, and after that, Andrew Grinberg. Amber, are you there? Please introduce yourself.
I am. Thank you so much, Jason. I'm Amber Gove. I'm a commissioner near Lincoln Park in Capitol Hill, advisory neighborhood commissioner, ANC. And I've been inspired to join because the elementary school that's in my single member district and where my kids attended early on helped advocate for this program to even exist. So I'm interested in seeing its progress. Thank you.
Johannes?
Johannes Benhoff. I'm the supervisory transportation planner in the bus priority team here at DDOT. I'm here just to see, what comes out of this meeting that might be connected to transit-related issues that we can help with.
Glad you could join us. So we'll have Andrew Gerst, Andrew Grinberg, and then Joseph Kerwin. Andrew Gerst.
Andrew Gerst, Legislative and Policy Analyst, Department of Public Works. I participate in all of these calls, and I participate in every parking call with our partner agency, DDOT.
For joining. Andrew Grinberg.
Hey there, Andrew Grinberg. I am a transportation planner, primarily working within the bus priority team with Johannes. I am also new to the role of being DDOT's school transit coordinator. So that means helping to interface between the district government and WMATA, primarily to ensure transit needs are being shared with our transit agency and coordinating, changes to service that WMATA can do to, serve people making trips to and from school. So I've only been at DDOT for just over a month, so this is my first one of these meetings, and I'm just excited to learn more and to introduce myself so you all can find me when transit issues come up.
Super. Welcome, Andrew. So glad you're here. I won't hit you up right now for the burning questions of what can we do? What are the most exciting things on your mind? But we'll get back to that, I'm sure. So we had someone else join in alphabetical order. It's Stephen Hanrahan, if you are ready, and then Joseph Kerwin, Patrick Kuntz, and Katie Lang. Stephen Hanrahan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, Jason. Hey, everyone. Happy to join. Happy to be here. I think there's always good, interesting conversations coming out of this group.
Glad you could make it. Stephen is with DDOT. Joseph Kerwin, Patrick Kuntz, Katie Lang, and David Lipscomb, in that order.
Hi, everyone. Joe Kerwin with the Curbside Management Division at DDOT. I'm here to support the school parking zone program and interested in the discussion today.
I'm Patrick Kuntz, and I am the elementary school that ANC Commissioner Amber Gove mentioned, here to try to kick this off again for our school.
Do you mind saying your title or role and just repeating the organization?
Maury Elementary, I'm Operations Manager.
Thank you. Katie, David, Haley Peckett, and then Priscilla.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Lang. I am with DDOT, and I am a transportation planner as well, working on our GoDC Go program and all things TDM, all things transportation demand management. So overseeing kind of everything in the district that has to do with encouraging people to travel sustainably.
Join us.
Good afternoon.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Dave Lipscomb. I'm the Curbside Manager in the Curbside Management Division. I work with Joe Kerwin's team, as well as Safe Routes to School, on policy planning and operations at schools and child care centers, among many other things that we do. So that's why I'm at this meeting.
Hi, I'm Haley Peckett, Associate Director for Curbside Management Division, and interested in hearing from the program participants on how the year has been going for them.
Priscilla, then Rebecca Ryan, Ayana Shingler, and Matthew Spaniel.
Hi, I'm Priscilla. I'm with the GoDC Go team, and I'm the school outreach coordinator. So I work with all the district schools and to educate, encourage them about the sustainable transportation options. And today I joined especially to educate you all about school pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca Ryan.
Thank you. Hi, Rebecca Ryan from the Deputy Mayor for Education's office. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives for K through 12. So I join all of these calls and I'm always excited to hear about program updates, feedback from schools and community and program participants, and really with a listening ear towards where we can support.
Ayana Shingler, Matthew Spaniel, Sean Stewart.
Hi all, Ayana Shingler, K-12 Policy Analyst at the Deputy Mayor for Education's office. I'm also a regular attendee of these meetings and I elevate all the previous statements of Becca. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Matthew Spaniel. I'm a transportation planner with Curbside over at DDOT. I also provide support for Safe Routes to School, mostly with plan review and parking requests.
Sean Stewart, the Associate Director of Operations for KIPP DC. Here just to learn more about the program and how we could be better, how we can work better with DDOT to make this a seamless transition, especially for next school year as we take on the SPZ program.
Thanks, Sean. Glad you could join us. Gleason Young.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Gleason Young. I'm from School of was at Francis Stevens that is now housed in Banneker temporarily. And I'm here because of the program has basically been successful for us as far as we're concerned in the year with regards to giving our staff an opportunity, an alternative to parking, but getting them situated in this new building and transportation, that has been my challenge. Getting them to for example, I commute by train or bus or whatever, which would never happen. But 3 days a week, I try to make it for 3 days a week. Sometimes I have errands here to do. I am also I'm very interested in the curbside because we have a bus issue. We have a major bus issue that is a hazard to the children. So that's something that I am interested in understanding more and how we can do that on 9th Street between Euclid and whatever the rec center for the safety of our children. Okay, and I'm gonna have to leave shortly because I have a summer school interview at 4:30. Yeah. So I'll catch the rest on the recording and I'll reach out to you, Jason, if I have any.
Well, Gleason, so good that you could join us and thanks for mentioning the issue. If you can write a little more detail in the chat, it doesn't have to be now, but it sounds urgent and we do have expertise on curbside and transit right here. So maybe we can get to it a little later. Even if you're not here, we'll have the recording for you or it's a good starting point.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
Thank you and good luck with your interview. Thanks for joining. Thanks. Okay, folks. The traditional icebreaker. I know that winter is starting to be a distant memory, but maybe there's some ice to be broken up and put into a nice cool glass of lemonade. So can you think of any time that survey data or some other data point made an impression on you or even changed your course of action? Even better if it's in the topic of transportation and schools. Anyone heard something in a survey that just, wow, that was so interesting to hear? Anytime recently? Ever? Maybe this type of trivia we don't always file in the instant recall. Katie's hand is up. Katie, just say it.
Hi, I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but I'm always struck by the number of children who walked or biked to school, particularly solo, in prior decades compared to the numbers now. And of course, it varies region by region and school by school.
Are you saying it's getting better?
Not from decades and decades ago. Worse than from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Right.
Yeah.
David Lipscomb, hand is up.
I will use the opportunity to sort of note that DDOT recently did its employee survey, and we've recently gotten some results on that. But I think that's always, for me, just a particularly good reminder of, the things that are important and keeping the finger on the pulse. It's an internal survey, so I won't really talk about any specific results, but sort of being a manager in the agency, it's always good to kind of get that, like I said, finger on the pulse to understand how the agency is working internally, how people perceive their time, and how their work is valued, and all of the other great things that we ask about. And so it ain't all good, but the vast majority of it is, I think, and it's a positive sort of pick me up.
Excellent. Thank you for that, David. Anyone else? Well, that was very positive. The examples I'm thinking of are negative, except that we will go over survey results later, which are very interesting. I love getting them. It's like getting a present in the mail. I guess I'll mention, if no one else has anything, we did a survey on a project I coordinated last year on which asked folks what their priorities for the curbside space were. And I don't know if anyone had particularly surveyed folks who don't own cars to ask them what they would like to see. And there's sort of an opposite. Everyone, whether they owned a car or not, and DC has about 35% of households, and by population, don't own cars. Those folks had a much higher interest in all kinds of other uses of the curbside space. And there were a lot of protest comments about, why are we storing private vehicles? Interesting. I'll leave it at that, and we'll move on unless there's any other burning questions. Okay, just quickly, there are abbreviations we use. ANC is Advisory Neighborhood Commission, RPP is Residential Permit Parking, STC is a School Transportation Coordinator, which is required to participate in this program as a liaison to the program. STP is a Sustainable Transportation Plan. That's also required. GoDC Go provides a very helpful template to make some choices and create a plan. And School Parking Zone is SPZ. School Parking Zone could now be an area where a permit works in residential permit parking, or it could potentially also be a dedicated space, such as near the school. And finally, TDM, Transportation Demand Management, a whole suite of strategies and measures which are aimed at giving more options for folks to travel and to help shift folks to choose other options besides driving alone. So a brief history of the school parking zone. Council passed an act. It covers all of the public schools, DCPS and charter. DDOT drafted a proposed rulemaking. It was postponed. We did an emergency program in the interim. We published it in 2021 and responded to comments and published the second one in 2022. Timing was getting extremely tight to launch the program before the school year, so we modified the regulation and published the final rulemaking in August 2022, just in time. But because we knew that we needed more lead time, DDOT began accepting applications since June of that year, last year. Permits are valid for a school year plus a month grace period till September 15th. So, problem is, urban schools are originally walking schools, and in many cases, and they're increasingly surrounded by permit parking that does not serve the staff. So modernization has removed parking. Half of school staff now live out of state, which indicates a jobs housing imbalance in terms of the cost of housing and the salaries. RPP only seems to increase, especially at schools. And so staff end up taking chances in 2-hour zones. And in fact, I did an analysis, which I think is probably to be repeated for just about any month when school is in session, that 2/3 of RPP citations are within 1/3 mile of a school. This is from November 2019, shortly before the pandemic. So the red dots show a cluster close to schools. So enter the school parking zone and the council's action. So quick overview, the school needs to provide, again, a sustainable transportation plan. This is an ongoing active commitment to this plan. A school transportation coordinator, and an annual staff commuter survey. It's a short survey, and it is now available for next year. We're encouraging schools to get the survey done before the end of the school year. Should be easier all around for many reasons. An ANC written request triggers a 60-day process. A school can also request. ANCs will always be consulted, and the school obviously benefits from ANC support and neighborhood support in general, but the ANC does not have veto power, although any concerns are taken very seriously. Overview of the permits. They are currently valid in RPP zones in one or more ANCs. An ANC is basically a neighborhood scale area with elected officials within it. This allows for faster implementation, no signage, serve more people more efficiently with a lower impact on everyone, wider area, so you don't have this noticeable loss of parking. For residents, it's flexible and adjustable. These permits are electronically distributed through a website, parkdc.com. Paper permits are currently printed from that ParkDC until at some point in the future, we may have electronic only through license plate recognition or LPR. The coordinator for the school, the STC, is given the authorization to issue permits, and then the school decides the distribution. These permits do cost $50 per year, which is actually chosen because it's the same as the lowest annual fee for a residential parking permit fee, except for seniors could have $35 fee. It's also $15 more, if I'm correct, on the cost of a citation for a single violation in an RPP zone to be free of that risk for a year of commuting. So quick status updates. Newly active is KIPP DC PCS. They just signed up all 18 schools, and they are now filling out their staff commuter surveys. A quick review of permit usage from the currently active schools. Some schools have actually taken themselves off this list for next year for various reasons, or because they found they didn't need the program, even as we're hearing from a lot of new schools who are interested. Graphically, the blue represents the percent of authorized permits that were issued, and the orange represents authorized permits that have not been issued. That's the latest data as of today. It's always an interesting question if anyone has information about why some schools haven't used their permits. There are a lot of different stories when I've asked, everything from death in the family to didn't need them to other issues. Application process for next school year. It's a good time to start, particularly with the survey. Those staff commuter surveys are available now. We really want you to complete it before the end of the school year. Summer is a difficult time to get people to answer surveys. This survey actually has been carefully adjusted with Katie's team and GoDCGo so that there's only one survey needed if a school is subject to the parking cash out law as well as participating in the school parking zone program. So that's good news. It's a fairly short survey and only one survey response is needed for the year for both programs. It's the same survey. However, the response targets, as was decided in this group over the course of the last year or so, are going to be higher than 60%. They now match the targets from the cash out regulation. And there's a whole list of, depending on how many staff, what level of response, where smaller schools would now need to provide a higher percent of staff answering just to have a better statistical representation. So please check your sustainable transportation plans, communicate any changes in terms of your coordinator or your plan. Be sure to get GoDCGo to approve any changes. And this has caused a few problems in the past where an LEA, a local education authority, submits an application for multiple campuses. It's very important that each school location has one application because it is very site specific for a number of reasons. And now GoDCGo updates from Priscilla. Priscilla, please take it away.
Thank you, Jason. So just to let you all know that I can help any STC or any schools with the STP as well as any process with the SBC program. But just to let you all know about the updates, we started the outreach for School Pool. So what School Pool is, it's a carpool ride matching system that is created by Commuter Connection. It is an on-demand interactive platform that helps parents, which helps them to connect with the same neighborhood, and they can connect with each other to form either carpools, walking groups, or biking groups to and from school. And we're encouraging the schools to join the School Pool to encourage to increase the rate of carpool, walking, biking rates, as well as to reduce the drive alone rate in the district. This way, like there's less traffic on the road as well. This will also help in the future the need of parking spaces, and hopefully in the future decreases the parking spaces needed by the schools as well. This this is just a platform for the parents to connect with each other, and then it's very secure and trusted. So if there's any schools involved here today, you can join the webinar tomorrow at 11, and I'll drop the link below. And if you know of any schools, you can always encourage them to sign up for the School Pool, or if there's anyone who's interested, you can send them my way, and I'm more than happy to help them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Priscilla. Does anyone have any follow-up questions for Priscilla? I want to mention at this time that Gleason Young posted in the chat, and I'm going to continue with the agenda. But if any of the folks, David Lipscomb or Andrew Gringer or anyone wants to possibly even pull up and share screen what the site is like, or think about the issues that Gleason raised, that would be great if we could get some immediate service for this customer. So let's see, moving right along. Just thought I'd toss this in. For anyone not familiar, GoDCGo has all these wonderful things, workbooks, activity books, the STP, tons of resources for schools and for all sorts of folks on their website, and they're very exciting. So also exciting is our end of year school transportation coordinator survey. This is essential first year feedback. We have 33 responses as of noon today, which is pretty good considering that that's a large majority of those who could have responded. Overall, of just a few quick impressions, it was found that overall the program has helped reduce parking violations, which was one of the goals. Parking violations are hurting our teachers and our students. Also, they've found generally it's very difficult to get folks to shift from driving, and also difficult to get survey replies. So that's a real concern because the survey is core and shifting driving is essential to this program. So we need to think harder about how that could happen, if it can happen. And also there was a lot of concerns expressed about lack of resources and time to fully implement. And that goes to the question of what more might be needed to make this program and its goals a success, far beyond this program, for all school staff and the district as a whole. 2/3 of respondents who answered this question believe that the program helps reduce driving. So that's the good news. 1/3 say it does not help or even makes things worse. And so there's a very interesting question, whether if it makes things worse, how does it make things worse? Is that specific to certain schools for some reason, or these are impressions from individuals, so they could also be skewed one way or the other for whatever reason. And here's a quick example of just one question where folks wrote, I love it when people write us a letter Again, it's just like getting a birthday card or something. I won't go through all of these, but as we still have a good amount of time left, I do want to bring up the survey and go through. We used Microsoft Forms, and let's see. I love some feedback about whether people can see the at least one question here or the whole screen. Is it readable?
Hey, Jason, I can see the job title and are you a principal question. Those are the two that I can see. And I was just
Okay.
wondering if you can specify, is this the number of responses you think you're going to get, or do you expect to get more? And is this just the STCs, or is this all staff as well?
The deadline was Friday, and it would be great to receive more responses. I don't anticipate many more responses, but the door is open. But I did think it was important to go over it, given the timing, and that certain decisions may be based on what people have said as we try to prepare for launch next school year before this school ends, which is soon. Is that helpful?
Super helpful. That's great. Thanks.
Okay, so there were a few schools who had started the program, and I structured the survey to allow them to skip some parts based on that, just to try to get some information from them, including the all-important question, which was, does your school intend to participate in this program next year? So it was sent to the school transportation coordinator contacts and any head of school or principal contacts for schools that have actively participated. Participation is a phrase that has been used to cover folks who started the process but didn't finish it, as well as those who finished it, whether or not they issued permits. So that was another thing in the survey, was there were extra questions for folks who had taken a survey. There were extra questions for folks who had completed a training. And there are a lot of opportunities to give written response, which obviously is just essential in a survey like this, where you have knowledgeable people, but we can't seem to get them all in this room to all answer the same questions at once. So a survey was the only way to do it that I know of. And if you see, if I mouse over the images, it will kind of say what the question is and what the percent and the number responding is. So we had actually only 7% say they are ahead of school, and most of the others were school transportation coordinators. Was your school able to complete the application process and qualify? 88% said yes. 3 said no. Do you have difficulty? Some of these I'll go through fairly quickly, but stop us anytime if you want to discuss them. One downside is that Forms doesn't give me any way to show the whole question when it's long, but if I mouse over, you'll read more of the question. So did you have any difficulty with any part of the application process and qualifying? The biggest ones were difficulty getting enough survey responses. That's definitely not a surprise. It's a concern in general with our surveys. And convincing staff to shift away from driving alone. Other issues, well, actually, we had a good number say that there were no real problems. So that's good. To have no real problems is a lot better than 1 or 2 problems. Understanding how to participate was a barrier to 6 of the respondents. Completing the sustainable transportation plan for the respondents. Navigating controversies with residents and elected officials, etc. 5 of the respondents. Getting help from GoDC Go was difficult for 4. Getting help from DDOT was difficult for 3. And other, which we won't go into now, was 5 of them. Any thoughts on this one before we move on? Any ideas of, especially ideas of how we could improve on these difficulties? I mean, that's a really essential goal as we finish our first year, which was a real learning process for everyone, I think. Any thoughts from anyone? How could we get those surveys completed better? You know, getting help from DDOT or GoDCGo. There were staff turnover issues at GoDCGo. That's one thing. I'll move on. Hearing from no one, feel free to post in the chat. Were you able to distribute SBC permits? So 7 said no, and 5 said partially. So that's a pretty big chunk. That's more than a third of folks weren't able to distribute permits, but the majority, 2/3 almost, said yes. And again, that's an open question. There are really different reasons at the different schools as to why. So we don't want to necessarily assume something, but if anyone has any insights into how we can help folks be able to distribute permits, all ears. Number 8, do you believe the program has achieved the goal of protecting staff from parking violations? I gave a spoiler on this at the first slide. 12 say a lot, 10 say definitely helped at least some, 3 said it's hard to tell, 1 said not much, and 1 said no. But actually nobody said it made things worse. So I didn't mean to act, I think I may have made it sound like someone thought that. So that's the good news. We have not made things worse, according to these respondents. How many parking violations, more parking violations per week would you estimate staff were receiving before this program? I did the math on this at one point recently when probably most of these responses had come in, and if I recall correctly, it was around 10 on average per school. And I did the math on that and got a rather large number across schools but I don't have that number handy, sorry. So the great thing about this response is, although it's just an estimate, it allows an estimate of the overall impact across many schools. How were the permits paid for? So this has been an issue of controversy, but I was surprised that 16 said that the individual staff paid, because from some of the data I've seen, I was under the impression that primarily the school or parent-teacher organizations paid. But in fact, it was about 1/3 of them. Any questions on anything so far? All right, we still have 20 minutes left. I'm not going to go through all the questions, but these are some of the upfront top issues. Did you have any issues utilizing the permits that could be improved? Good news is 11 said, nope, all good. There were a lot of others that were mentioned. Some difficulty transferring permits, assisting staff with the permits. Actually, that seems pretty good considering it was a new program, and there's some hurdles no matter what. Did not need all the permits we were given. Staff received citations while using permits. I'm not clear yet, but in some cases, definitely it's because staff had not understood where they were allowed to park and maybe parked in a metered zone or a timed zone that is not RPP, like a 4-hour parking or a 3-hour or even 2-hour. But their permit only works where it's residential permit parking limited. So we need to definitely do better on our messaging. We've already taken steps to help make sure that folks know where they are usable. Staff feel they cost too much. That's an interesting question we could always discuss. It is coded in the regulation. It is pursuant to strong established DC policies, and it's far below market rates. And it's similar to the cost of a ticket. So that's sort of the general response of why it costs what it does. Paying for permit procurement challenges. I don't have details on these, but 5 respondents said they had trouble paying, and 2 had trouble administering, and 3 had trouble choosing who would get a permit. I thought that might be the hardest one of all because it's so controversial. But we don't have any details at this time of how people chose who would receive a permit. That would actually be a really good survey question, maybe next year. Are you a school transportation coordinator? 2/3 said yes. It included anyone who manages one or more school transportation coordinators. So basically anyone familiar with managing the program who's somehow involved, they would then get a whole host of questions, such as, this year, do you feel you were successful at being Go DC Go's main point of contact? 12 said yes. That means out of 25 responses to this question, about half did not say yes. So is there something there where we can improve? Serving as the person everyone goes to for sustainable transportation issues. 9 out of 27, wait, I've already forgotten, 25. So it's close to only around a third said that they were successful in their role, which is really the school transportation coordinator role. So that is a concern. Growing the number of staff, students, and families who use sustainable transportation. Sorry, these are cut off by the program, but there isn't an easier way to show these at the moment. 5. So that also seems pretty low. That's only 20% were successful at growing staff participation in those things. Only about a third were successful at hosting and promoting sustainable transportation events. And it's, by the way, it hasn't been adjusted yet, but it's possible that some of these folks were from the same school, because it's possible to have more than one, although almost all of them were single school responses. So that would make it even worse. Less than half were successful at promoting benefits. I'm not sure I understand how this is showing up. Not very successful in supporting shift away from driving. That's like a double negative. I'll have to check on that. Question 14, is your school actively doing any of these? Or are there any questions on the previous question? Continue. We can go back to any of them at any time. I want to try to wrap up this summary soon, even though we won't finish and get to other topics. So is your school actively doing any of these? Out of a total of, again, 25 responses, those are the folks who went down this branch of the survey. 10, posting transportation information. That suggests around 2/3 are not, or 3/5 are not. Distributing information about transit benefits to all staff. 14 out of 25. Providing information to all students and families about kids, almost all of them. There's a success. Actively providing pre-tax benefits, only 9 out of 25. Hosting events, only 6. Providing financial incentives, only 4. Providing comprehensive support for bicycling, like racks, lockers, showers, etc. 10 out of 25. Traffic gardens and bike safety, only 2 out of 25, 4%. And we are not doing any of these types of things is 1. That's the good news. Okay, any questions on that one? Any insights? How can we increase these numbers? What needs to happen? Somebody, anybody, help me. Have I put you all to sleep? Nobody has anything to say. What was that? I heard a no. Okay. I guess that means not asleep. Until corrected.
Yeah, there's a hand that raised.
Oh, there's a hand. Excellent. That's what we like to see. Hands are good.
Hey,
let's give a hand to
Jason,
Amber.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Jason, you put a lot of it out there, so maybe breaking it into pieces. I think, at least in my experience, making all staff available of all of the opportunities that you all provide has been something that I think is a little hit and miss, and will vary by school in terms of even their awareness of pre-tax benefits, for example, or active transit benefits, or I think the teacher, still get a cabbie bike share discount. So better communication around that and collaboration with DCPS to make sure that that's part of every year. I don't know, an HR renewal package or something to make folks more aware. That would be a path. But there were kind of a lot of issues you raised, so maybe we could bucket those into incentives for completion or information sharing. That might help.
Okay. One reason that these were chosen is that they correspond to items that may come up within the transportation plans that the schools are committing to participate. But I appreciate that it's a lot of information, and I appreciate your suggestions. It is a perennial concern of how to reach school staff for all of these reasons. I certainly invite our Go DC Go folks to talk about any ideas they have or challenges they've had. I think a lot of school staff are under overwhelm, and we have to typically go through a point person at the school to get them to distribute to staff, or get into a newsletter that's extremely long. It's, you know, a lot of things could theoretically help. I think we are improving, at least in terms of the school parking zone program. I've set up to send a lot more direct bulletins to schools and acquired lists even recently that we hadn't had before, although we tried to get them. Charter schools are particularly difficult to reach. So I want to touch on this briefly. This is a ranked list of which activities did you spend the most time on. And I don't think we have many of the respondents on this call, unfortunately, but encouraging staff to complete transportation surveys tops the list, and their own personal commute in minutes per day is at the bottom. And I have to wonder if there was an error there, because that would suggest that they spend more time per day organizing events, seeking new transportation options, advocating options, etc. So, were you successful in implementing the goals? Actually, believe it or not, we had a lot of very positive responses, and I won't open them all now. Okay, so I'm going to call it quits on this for now, because we've gone through a good chunk. Again, I'd love to hear everyone's and anyone's feedback. I'm switching now to the main PowerPoint. I'm just going to race through. These will be in the record. These were questions from our meeting on school curbside innovation. Where are the opportunities, where there are underutilized facilities or relationships that could be generated? Do we need new approaches to pick up, drop off, or to the no parking areas alongside some schools? And daycares, what can we do for daycares? So opening up now to general discussion. That was a lot of information. Thank you for bearing with. I would love to hear any feedback. I apologize if it was information overload. We can continue to summarize and discuss as we go forward.
Jason, this is Katie. I put this in the chat, but I just wanted to flag for everyone that DCPS staff do receive free Capital Bike Share memberships. So there were some suggestions to offer that as an incentive for the survey. But staff already get them for free. And I dropped the link there. So please, if you are affiliated with a school, do share that with school staff.
Excellent. Thank you. Commissioner Gove's idea about an annual HR packet, I've brought up that sort of idea a number of times in the past in terms of getting the survey done. It seems like a simple transportation survey could be part of everyone's annual onboarding, whatever normally happens. And a more detailed treatment of all the benefits and options could be part of that. I'd love to see a network analysis. It could be anonymized or just done for individuals where folks take a look at their transportation options, all of them in one fell swoop, and ideally survey report back something about that so we'd have a better understanding of just where the opportunities are and how difficult some of the options might be and what everybody is doing as a whole. So priority items to discuss are generally about how to improve the program. Is there a better meeting time for this meeting, monthly meeting? And how can we track performance and success of STPs and of the program as a whole? I am going to, I guess, pause the PowerPoint. I realize I'm probably the only person with the video on at this time, but if we want to have a little bit more personal discussion, anyone else brave enough, or I'll turn my camera off. Okay, hand is up. Aha, we've got Damian Pumpkin. Welcome, you're on mute.
Sorry.
You're off mute.
I'm driving here, so a little challenging to get off mute at a light. But everyone, Damian with DCPS. I had an idea, just thinking about how to, because we're trying. I think one of the challenges I keep hearing, listening to you talk about the data, interacting with schools, is this is just like yet another initiative that gets like kind of piled on, and it's hard to make space for it to without it having a natural regular cadence within the school flow, which I know some teachers mentioned or staff members mentioned about this call. So I'm wondering if there's bandwidth on your side I'm thinking about like where are teacher reps already meeting, and that could be, I guess the LSAT is one that comes to mind, where you could do maybe a targeted outreach at the beginning of the school year, connect with a few teachers so that they're getting that information and then able to share that as those questions tend to come up over the course of the year. Yeah, just kind of as a strategy, and it might be too much to hit every school, obviously, and that's DCPS specific, of course. But just thinking out loud of like, okay, how do we get people more aware of what's going on? Because a lot of the same questions keep coming up throughout the year as school communities hit a pain point. And so I'm wondering, like, okay, if we can do like a targeted blitz at the beginning of the school year, at LSAT meetings, for example, and then they'll know who you and the team are, potentially, if they're able to, even if it's just 15 minutes on a call, they have that touch point, and then are hopefully, just kind of injected with a little bit of juice moving forward to be able to integrate this a little bit more holistically, as opposed to it being kind of carried by a transportation coordinator who may or may not have 1,000 other responsibilities.
Thank you so much for that feedback. Are you at all available to assist in making it a reality?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great.
My team goes to almost all those LSAT meetings, so happy to coordinate, and we're in communication with a lot of those folks. So. Okay,
sounds like we're forming at the very least a subcommittee. Anyone who would like to join, please put it in the chat. I will say, to your point that about overburdening schools, I think schools are overburdened. And I think school staff are overburdened as a general rule. That said, somehow you seem to be freezing, but that's okay. That said, these issues have been slipping through the cracks for a very long time. So another way to view this program is it's another effort to actually reach and actualize all of these goals. The sustainable transportation plans have been out there. Schools weren't making use of them. Now through this program, a lot more schools are making use of them. And by correspondence, actively engaging with Go DC Go. Our school-wide survey 3 years ago found that a large majority of staff didn't know about any benefits and would like to know about them. So there's a disconnect happening, and definitely this program adds some administrative burden to the, say, the strategy and logistics staff. On the other hand, think about all the parking tickets and the amount of time teachers say they're running out to move their vehicles all day to try to not get tickets. You know, that has a direct impact on their lives and certainly on the education of the kids, right? We've got the high school where it goes on the PA system, DPW is ticketing, and teachers run out of their classrooms during instruction for parking. So it would be great if it were universal. It needs some more investment and capacity building and to be integrated into the program. And DCPS, where you're from, is the most likely LEA to do a big effective job of that, I would say, because the charters are so much harder to reach individually and they all have their own different sort of governance and communications and processes. I hope that was helpful to everyone listening. Mayor's office and all, we're not reaching them all. We need another boost somehow. And ideally with less impact all around, but that's the goal. I mean, giving people better options is a goal.
Jason, this is John Carlos.
Thank you.
I have an idea I had in trying to do a more effective job of reaching charter schools. You know, charter schools do have an advocacy group that work closely with the LEAs. It's the DC Charter School Alliance. Have you thought about maybe reaching out to them to see if they would push some of the resources in the surveys?
I don't remember if I was familiar with the DC Charter School Alliance throughout the course of the development of this program, so I thank you for that.
Okay, I'll send you an email directly to you and your team, and perhaps we can find a great contact for you.
Great, thank you, John. And do you want to introduce yourself for folks present as we're almost out of time?
Sure. John Carlos Green, and I'm the Community Engagement Manager at the DC Public Charter School Board.
Super. Thanks everyone for joining. Any last words from anyone before we end this 21st monthly working group?
I just wanted to give, I'm Principal Young here at School Without Walls at Francis Stevens. So I just wanted to give just a note of thank you and appreciation for the opportunity. This was the first year that our school was in transition due to a modernization. And so we always had parking, but now in our swing space, we were without parking. And I do want you all to know that we received the residential parking passes and permits, and that has made a huge difference for our teachers. And it also made a huge difference for me as far as retaining my teachers, because that was definitely a concern. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there to say that I appreciate the opportunities that were presented for my faculty, and just thought that you should know that there are some students or schools that are appreciative of the work. So I thank you.
Great to hear your appreciation. Thank you so much, Principal Young. All right, anyone else? Thanks for joining. See you soon. You know how to find us. Closing the meeting.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.